Okay, everybody, welcome to Ronin's Den. We have breaking news, and I think that we're psychic, Steve. We're psychic.
We're prophets.
Like,
We called this. We called all of this, man.
right?
All of it.
So,
Every step that has happened.
right, and let's go back to those steps. Okay, so Wizards of the Coast says before any big thing happens, they're totally against AI art, and they're always going to stand with the human artists. Well, that gets proven to be a lie because they come out with Big B's and it's riddled with AI art. More phlebitis than anything. And
They've got caught with AI art 3 times.
yep. So they say they're never going to do it again. What ends up happening? They do it again.
They do it again.
And then they lay off a bunch of people right around Christmas, many of whom are their creative staff. And what happens again? They get caught with AI art. But this time it's in Magic the Gathering cards, so that's okay because it's not Dungeons and Dragons, right? What happens shortly thereafter? They put out an article and a job posting looking for somebody that's going to handle AI art. They say it's only for their video games. Only for their video games, right? Like, that's what they said.
That's what it says right in this article, or it said write it in the job posting. This job description is for the role for future video game projects. You and I both said that's a lie. That's not going to stick.
Yep, exactly. So there was that. But this morning, I came across a lovely article right here where Chris Cox said, where there's an inside development from Chris Cox. We've already been using AI. It's mostly machine-based AI or proprietary AI as opposed to chatbot GPT approach. We will deploy it significantly and liberally internally as both a knowledge worker aid and as a developmental aid. I'm probably more excited, though, about the playful elements of AI. If you look at your typical D&D player, I play with probably 30 or 40 people regularly. I will unpack that later. There's not a single person who doesn't use AI somehow for either campaign development or character development or story ideas. That's a clear sign that we need to be embracing it. We need to do it carefully. We need to do it responsibly. We need to make sure that we pay creators for their work, and we need to make sure we're clear when something is AI generated. But the themes around using AI to enable user-generated content, using AI to streamline new player introduction, and using AI for emergent storytelling, I think you're going to see that not just be our hardcore brands like D&D, but also multiples of our brands. Yeah, so that whole thing about just being for video games that we said was BS when we did that video a couple months ago.
And on TikTok, we got roasted for that.
Oh, God.
We both got called horrible things for saying that. Oh, they won't. This is obviously what. Okay, sure. Anybody with eyes saw this coming a mile away. Like, if you didn't see this coming, you literally are just blind. Like, we called it. We've been saying it since they laid off all these people because we laid out the entire timeline you just laid out. This is their plan, and it is not going to stop. And I love these, like, we got to do this responsibly. We got to do this ethically. There is no ethical AI. There isn't. There is no ethical AI, period. It is all theft. It is all unethical. So doing it is unethical. Number 2, just because you might know some people doing it doesn't make it right. You are the largest TTRPG company in the world by a vast margin. The difference between them and the number 2 place is literally like $1 billion. So you need to set the standard that we are going to pay our artists. We are going to keep this to where we're going to not do these unethical things. But because they're $1 billion corporation, they don't know what the word ethical means. No. And this is this is just another sign that Wizards of the Coast has no clue what they're no clue how to be ethical. It's just plain and simple.
And so I also think that there's an issue with the D&D player base. Like, there's enough of them that really hate AI, and they're vocal about it. But there's also a non-significant amount. I mean, there's a decent amount of people that just don't care as long as they get their new shiny. All they care about is the new shiny that shows up. Ooh, look, I got a new book. Hey, that thing's riddled with AI, and they laid off like 40 workers so they could push that out for like pennies on the dollar. And they're still charging you $50 for that book, even though it only cost them like 15 cents to do all that artwork instead of the thousands of dollars it cost them before. Don't care. Wizards of the Coast, Dungeons and Dragons, they can do no wrong. Best game ever. It's just insane, the level of fanaticism that I see in some of that player base.
I'm going to correct you. It wasn't 40 people. They laid off 1,100 staff members.
Oh, no.
It was December.
Yeah, no, there was 1,000 people laid off. Chris Cox was saying, I think where he got the 40 was he was playing with 30 to 40 people. Who the hell plays D&D? I would love, like, you know what? I don't even want to touch that.
Okay.
I don't even want to touch that.
No. Here's I'm gonna put this out there. Nobody's gonna see it that actually plays with Chris Cox because nobody exists. If 10 people comment on this video and prove that they play with Chris Cox, we'll rescind our statement about how he doesn't actually play D&D.
Better yet, if there are 10 people that can prove that they play D&D with Chris Cox on a regular basis, I will shave my beard. I want to see these people sitting at the table with books and dice and snacks and drinks. And I will shave my freaking beard on a TikTok live.
10 people, if they can prove it. Because I guarantee he doesn't have 10 he plays with. I promise he doesn't have 1. He has never played D&D. I am positive. Outside of maybe once or twice, just because the PR team's like, you've got to at least play it once or you blah, 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 PR nonsense. But the simple fact of the matter is that I know 30 or 40 people who are using AI. I know quite a few game masters who are using AI as well. It's not ethical. I make it very clear this is not ethical. You should not be doing this. It is theft. And then he even says we need to make sure the artists are getting paid. You don't know where the art's coming from.
Well, and here's the thing. What? You pay the artist once, right? To do what?
Yeah.
To do what exactly? Train the AI? Are you going to use the image that the artist made, or are you going to be just feeding a sample picture into the AI program and using that to just extrapolate shit forever? How does that even work? Like, what would that look like? It reminds me about the Hollywood actors strike where they were saying they wanted to scan actors' faces. Here's $300. Let us use your likeness in perpetuity. So basically, I could have my face copied and I could be appearing in movies in the year 6000 and my relatives will never see a dime because they paid me $20 today because I needed something to eat and I was desperate. I mean,
that's the thing with the art too. They're going to use the same piece of art over and over and over again, and you're going to pay the artist once. There's no possible way that is ethical. There's not. And like the only truly ethical way that they could do this, and even then it's a stretch, is if they only used their library. They contact every artist and make a deal with them of X amount of money in perpetuity. We're going to continue to pay you because we're going to constantly use your image in an AI filter or an AI program. And even then, there's still the other end of the economical effects of AI with all the different servers and everything that have to house and do this. There's the the low paid labor in other countries that are there to maintain and sort that. There's so many more ethical problems outside of just the artists getting paid. which is why AI is not good. No matter how you spin it, there's no ethical way to do AI.
Nope.
And
Now,
that is,
yeah.
yeah.
So I'm going to go off on what's going to seem like a tangent, but I promise you it's not. It is the next prediction. Okay. So Wizards of the Coast recently had another controversy because, I mean, it's a day that ends in Y. I mean, that just happens every other freaking day with these guys now, where they got caught forcing spell and weapon changes on people through D&D Beyond. And there are a lot of people out there defending this practice and fighting against it. And the changes
There were more that were unhappy with it than defending it, but the people that were defending it were very loud.
Oh yeah, I mean, why wouldn't they be? They wanted their 15-minute interview with Jeremy Crawford and their free subscription to D&D Beyond so they can run their paid games and a little bit easier and get their free copies of the new books. Whatever. I don't want to argue about that for a minute, but anyway, continuing. The main changes revolved around where those things were going to hit on the character sheet, right? You were no longer going to be able to have the 2014 rules import directly to the character sheet. They were instead going to default to the 2024 rules, remember?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so they're also coming out with this new virtual tabletop. What's it called? Sigil or something?
Sigil.
Right. And people paid to go sit in a room and be part of an infomercial audience when this thing was announced, which was hilarious in and of itself. But Sigil's going to interact directly with D&D Beyond, which is why they wanted to force the 2024 rule sets onto the character sheets, because Sigil is going to pull the characters directly from Beyond for integration. We can agree to that, right?
Correct.
Sounds good? Sounds good so far? Okay. So there was something that was said in this article that I'm going to go back to. And it is at the bottom. But the themes around AI using to enable user-generated content, using AI to streamline new player introduction. But here's the part. Using AI for emergent storytelling. So they hired this person to do AI work, which they said was just for video games, right? Bullshit. They got caught lying. They said that he's now says that he wants to incorporate AI into practically freaking everything. They got the spell change forces on D&D Beyond. You can still access your other stuff, but the 2024 stuff is still being forced onto the character sheet. But you can still access your 2014 stuff. New tabletop. This is going to be proprietary. AI emergent storytelling. We're going to see Sigil at some point in time in its early formative years have AI dungeon masters. And these are going to be sold as microtransaction, season pass, or if anybody's old enough and gray enough in the beard to remember how AOL used to work back in the day, where you paid by the hour. A pay-by-the-hour subscription fee for an AI Dungeon Master. There is going to be some kind of AI Dungeon Master with monetization surrounding it incorporated into Sigil. I don't know what it's going to look like monetized, but that is the prediction.
I feel like we've predicted this before.
I know.
We've been calling this since the start. Like this is it's gonna happen. They're going to have an AI dungeon master. They're gonna try to monetize the living hell out of it. And you know what I think is sad is I think a lot of people are gonna do it. I think a lot of people are gonna choose to pay this AI dungeon master instead of going to something like Start Playing Games and paying for a real dungeon master. Because of the convenience of we want to play right now, pay the $5.99 we're playing right now with an AI, as opposed to planning, setting it up with a human being, and it's gonna be a mess. I think it's gonna be extremely unethical, but it is the logical next step. It is the logical next step for what they are saying they're gonna do. And proving what they're gonna do, right? It's gonna happen.
Yep. But that's all I got on this topic. Do you have anything you want to close out with?
I just want to say that if you go back through our channel, you can see where we have called everything they were going to do down to the minute thing. We said they were going to force you to upgrade to the 2024 rules on D&D Beyond. They attempted to. Luckily, the community screamed and they're like, "Whoop, whoop, we screwed up. Never mind. Never mind. We heard you." We called that AI was going to be more than art. It was going to be for Sigil. We called that it was going to be for storytelling. We called that it was going to be for art. We called this. We have said every step of the way what was going to happen, how it was going to happen, and we have yet to be wrong. And we can prove it. We have the videos to prove it. Before any of this happened, we were calling this. So this is why you don't trust Wizards of the Coast when they tell you something. I love Dungeons and Dragons. I've always loved Dungeons and Dragons. I will always love Dungeons and Dragons. I do not love the company that owns them. I do not trust the company. And that is the bottom line. Don't trust Wizards of the Coast to do the ethical thing because they're not going to. They will let you down. They will break your heart. And they will continue to do shitty things. And that's all I got on it. But yeah, this has been Ronin's Den. This is the latest debacle from Wizards of the Coast. I think we're probably the first people to comment on this or do a video, so we'll probably see a lot more. But yeah, anyway, I'm Steve. That's Eric. Thank you for watching.